Hi everyone, this is Lauren coming to you from the Break Zone with another deck tech video. This one going over the winner of the Indianapolis Crystal Cup. So it was a mono ice turbo discard type deck with a little twist on it with the Deepground Soldier package, which actually took the tournament by storm. So the name of the deck is Sorry Guys A. Well, from the Canadian Toronto Crystal Cup winner, Jordan Denk, doing it again and blocking that 3-round bye at this tournament. First place finish at the Indianapolis Crystal Cup, as I mentioned. Overall winner. So this is a mono ice deck, and it's a little bit of a twist from the turbo discard deck that came out in Opus 5 from what was it, Singapore. And let's go over some of the cards. All of them are going to be ice, and as I mentioned earlier, there's a little bit of a twist on it. So Snow, great card. You don't have too many backups. We're talking about 9 backups, and none of them are Sarah. So Snow is going to be one of those tempo plays that you use in order to push your game state forward. Being able to dole on opposing forwards, you also, well, you run 3 Shivas in here, so you're going to be able to kind of push through a little bit more. And Snow's going to be able to help you with that. Next up, we've got Deepground Soldier. This one is the second one of part of the chain that's able to search into the DGS Trooper first class. And at 5,000 power, it's going to be able to block those fully powered Thaumaturges. Also, this is the 2-drop Deepground Soldier. A lot of tricks can be played with it. So if you have a Gesper out and you have a Deepground Soldier, go ahead and play that Deepground Soldier when the ability to enter the field auto ability is on the stack, where you get to draw out the 3-drop Deepground Soldier. Go ahead and activate your Gesper. That way, if you have no cards in hand, you're going to force your opponent to discard a card. And after that resolves, go ahead and search for that Deepground Soldier 3 cost and add it to your hand, and it's going to be able to push you forward. 3 copies of Argath because it's turbo discard, and a 2-drop that forces your opponent to discard a card is good. Thaumaturge is another key part of this deck of any turbo mono ice turbo discard. Everybody's so familiar with it already. Turns into a 5,000 power forward when your opponent has 2 cards or less in hand. So make sure you check how many cards are in your opponent's hand when you attack. I've seen a couple of people make that mistake before, when your opponent kind of sits there and doesn't play things for a turn or two, try to load up their hand so that your Thaumaturges get small. Be careful about that. Next up, one of the newcomers in Opus 6, and a definite major force to be reckoned with in the turbo discard decks. So Squall is a 2-drop 5,000 power forward, but if your opponent has, well, that Thaumaturge threshold of 2 cards or less in hand, gets hastened first strike, which happens quite often. But if your opponent actually goes out and empties their hand, not only will they be susceptible to Cid Aulstyne, they'll also be able to have to face down haste first strike 8,000 power forward that you only paid 2 to get. Next up, we've got 1 copy of Zidane because it's a live forward. You don't want too many of them to clog up your aggressive hand. But it is, you don't have any more Final Fantasy 9, Category 9 forwards that you have in this deck in order to activate his cost reduction. But as a 3-drop, 7,000 power forward that forces the discard out of your opponent's hand, it's kind of like a Sarah, but a little bit bigger. Next up, we've got Laguna. So if you have Squall and after that you play Laguna, guess what? You have a 9,000 power forward that is going to dole and freeze an opposing forward. So that could be good. Also, EX Burst. So sometimes, even if you don't have Squall, you'll be able to dole a forward for a turn. And otherwise, that's if you get it off EX Burst, you're going to be able to kind of mess with your opponent's math, where they thought, oh, I'll be attacking with this guy real quick, or this forward real quick, and after that you dole them out 1 extra time and you might be able to go for the win. Alright, in case you weren't able to draw into your Squalls normally, go ahead and play this one to draw into it. Okay, and here's the DGS Trooper first class. You don't want too many of them, 2's enough, and all of a sudden you are winning out those trades against let's say a mirror match or similarly deck, or like the mono ice turbo discard, where your Thaumaturges, which are also ice job standard units, are going to be 7,000 power forwards, while your opponents are only 5,000 power. 3 copy of Genesis, because, well, that card is so broken So you might as well play 3 copies of it. It's going to be able to win you so many games. Discarding cards from the opponent's hand if it goes unchecked. You do have 3 Mateus and 3 Shivas to make sure that happens. And otherwise, sometimes clearing the way for all your smaller forwards. Cid Aulstyne. Turbo discard forces so many cards out of your opponent's hand that they might not have any left in theirs. And all of a sudden, Cid Aulstyne might be able to break their roadblock. Alright, let's go over some of the monsters. 3 copies of Gesper because, well, as I mentioned, playing a 2-drop or 3-drop Deepground Soldier followed by a Gesper activation while the search ability is on the stack is going to put you so far ahead of Turbo Discard they might not be able to recover. And Flan, as you've seen, well, you're able, if you wanted to, you could use Flan to force your opponent to discard cards, but you could also use it for card advantage if you already have a backup out, so that you're able to search out your other Flan, thin out your deck, and after that discard those Flans for CP in order to play out all your other forwards. Alright, let's go over the 9 backups that you have. 3 of them are Kazusa. Able to force a discard at any given time by putting Kazusa into the break zone is going to force your opponent into some funny situation. Keep in mind that unless they have auto trigger during their first main phase, they will have the priority to play their hand before you get to activate it. So you can't really activate it in response to your opponent entering the main phase. But if they give you priority, you will be able to. And so normally you play Kazusa as one of the last cards in your hand, so that you will not lose a card out of playing it, but your opponent will. All right. 2-drop Harley is really good, especially when you have 3 Edwards in your deck. Being able to play your Edward for 1 CP is pretty darn broken, actually. Alright, Edward being able to save you from all those summons as well as forcing a card out of your opponent's hand is very efficient. And let's go over some of the summons. Pretty redundant, but well, through Mateus, you have so many small forwards, and the Mateus bluff is real. If your opponent is thinking about, well, should I block, should I not block? If they don't block, they're going to start taking damage. Unless they have a lot of EX burst in their deck, they should definitely be scared of Mateus and play around it. And if they're just letting things through, it might be enough for you to win because you have Mateus, Genesis, and Shiva just backing you up anyways, as well as Snow. And last but not least, we've got Shiva making a return after, well, Toronto. 2-drop Shiva, she's kind of fallen out of favor lately, but in this deck, you have so many forwards. And this deck is a little bit more stable in comparison to Turbo Discard in terms of mid-late game. I mean, we saw Jordan Denk actually being able to come out against first turn Camelot, which is usually backbreaking for Mono Ice. If they don't walk into Mateus while Camelot is not protected from ice, then for the rest of the game, normally you kind of lose. But Jordan Denk was able to kind of stabilize, kind of build out his board, do party attacks into the mid-late game and overcome that Camelot. And while the Shiva can come into play for anything that's not protected from summons, and if your opponent is going to try to play a summon to kind of break all your stuff, especially when it comes to let's say Exodus, for example, being able to call out 2 drops because you have, well, as I mentioned, Argath, Thaumaturge, Deepground Soldier, Squall. All of those are 2 drops, so it would hurt quite a bit, but your Edward will be able to save you, and after that, Shiva might be able to put you out on top after the fact. So if you like to play aggressive games and maybe have a little more of a security blanket in terms of a better game plan than Turbo Discard in order to go into the mid to late game, this is definitely a deck you should consider. Turbo Discard is definitely still around. If you, well, actually, we didn't showcase it, we didn't stream that one. But even in Opus 6, Turbo Discard got the addition of, as I mentioned earlier, Squall was a great addition to Turbo Discard. And this is, I guess you could say, an evolution of it. Talking to the RVA returner guys, they mentioned that they played Turbo Discard against this deck, and it was not pretty for them. This deck won out the mid to late game, was able to stabilize and come out on top. So much value out of Deepground Soldiers. Deepground Soldier into the Gesper activation was huge. So consider this deck. Maybe give it a shot if you like Turbo Discard. This might be the next step up for you. If you like this deck or if you have any questions, feel free to post comments down below. Thanks again to our sponsor, MagicTechGames.com, that carries Final Fantasy trading card game cards from books 1 to 6. If you want to go ahead and either buy or trade in some cards for maybe more cards or Opus 6 sealed boxes, go ahead and do so. And if you like what we do, go ahead and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.